Hey, I'm Mikko and today we're looking at Procreate Pocket 3 and the new features that they just added to this painting application. The one thing that might surprise people is that it now has all the features of the iPad version, and there's no reason why you couldn't paint just as good of paintings on the phone as you do on your iPad. And of course, the reason why you would want to use your phone in the first place, that despite the small screen, it's easy to take anywhere with you, and I painted a lot of paintings like in places where I can't take out my full iPad with me. And also remember that this phone version is perfectly compatible with the version that is on the iPad. So you can start, for example, sketching on this phone and then finish it on the iPad later. But what I personally do is that I often have paintings on the iPad and then I bring them into my phone version, because on the phone this iPhone X screen is actually better than the screen on my iPad. So I check the colors and make the final adjustments here. So my favorite feature number one, and this might surprise a lot of you, but it's actually clipping masks. The clipping masks are handy. I'm gonna show you right here. You can access clipping masks by, for example, making a new layer, setting as clipping mask from the layer menu, pressing this button, and then you go back to the normal mode. Now, for example, when I do a color drop, it only shows the colors on the parts of the layer that are on the exact same position as the kind of parent layer of that clipping mask. So if you go back to the layer menu, you see this arrow, it's pointing to the parent layer. And this is something that I use a lot of the time, and the theme with all of these favorite features of mine is that they're all very handy when you're painting in a, for example, under time pressure, when you're in a queue and you just want to get one element done, or when you're in a bus and you don't have that kind of stability that you can do perfect hand-drawn gestures. So all of these features really help you get precision in a small screen. Clipping masks in most cases are more useful than layer masks, because in most cases you only need a clipping mask and you don't need a mask that you can paint. So the difference between the two, where it counts for me, is that clipping mask takes only one layer worth of memory, but if you use a layer mask, it takes 2 layers of memory. So whenever you can use a clipping mask instead of a layer mask, I suggest that you do so. I'm also gonna show you one more thing here, is that I'm gonna put it on add layer and then add some black strokes. And black strokes in add layer mode are always gonna be kind of dark. So here we have some dark layers. And now, because it's a clipping layer, I can perfectly merge it down with the layer below. And you don't see anything odd from that merge. But let's say that this is a normal layer. I'm gonna set it as a normal layer. And then I'm gonna select this layer beneath. And then use that selection to make a layer mask. So now in this mode, it might look like it's exactly the same thing. Let's put the selection off so you can see. It might look like it's exactly the same here. But when I merge this layer, now when we go back, and if you look really closely, you can see that it adds those dark fringes around the edges because there's transparent pixels there. But with a clipping mask, it takes this into consideration. So a clipping mask will never leave these kind of outer edges when you do merging like this. So not only does it save you memory and those precious layers, but it also is more clean looking when you do these kind of merges later when you need more layers. My second favorite feature is the drawing guides. This is also a feature that greatly helps when painting complex geometry in a shaky bus. By going to the layer menu notice that you can tap Drawing Assist on a layer and this will lock the direction of the brush strokes. Okay, let's put drawing guide here. We go to Canvas and then hit this drawing guide button. And then you can adjust the drawing guide by pressing this. You notice that there are also the same features that there are in the iPad version. So let's, for example, add perspective to this, because it's pretty difficult to do these kinds of lines on a phone screen pretty much wherever you are, because of it's harder to keep your hand stable in this scale. Okay, now that we have these, let's just click done. And let's go to the layer, and if you press the layer, you can hit this button called Drawing Assist. Now with an assisted layer, now with this brush, you can see that even if I'm just like using my finger to draw these lines, they're perfectly aligned with the perspective grid. So this way it's really easy to make complex, for example, architecture or interior images if you just have the Drawing Assist on, and you can always switch it off and back on again when you need to do so. It's super handy. My third favorite feature is the warp. Warp can be accessed by pressing this arrow button, and you can see this fourth icon from the left is warp. And with this you can just adjust the existing pixels, like basically like their dough. It's kind of like soft stuff. And the good thing about this is that, for example, in this painting that I'm showing you here, there are many elements that are actually just copies of one another, and I have used the warp to kind of like add small organic tweaks to them to give them more kind of like organic look. But it's also very handy for drawing when you want to adjust like one part of the image. Like for example, if you have an arm that is a bit too long, you can use warp to kind of like shrink it down so you don't have to redraw the entire thing by hand again. My fourth favorite feature of this Procreate 3.0 is Quick Shape, and I just love Quick Shape. Quick Shape is basically how I learned to do this style in the first place. So just a quick reminder that Quick Shape you can do by just like making any kind of shape and then holding pen down at the end of the stroke. And this way you can adjust it like a vector curve. This is just a line, but let's for example make an arc like this. It's very hard to make in a moving bus, but with Quick Shape it becomes easy. And by pressing this button on top of the screen called Edit Shape, you can now adjust it like a vector curve. And this is basically how I made all of these elements in this painting. And most of this I have painted while I'm at the gym. Sorry, I'm that guy who is sitting on machines and on their phone all the time. But just very quickly I was able to just like make one element and then get back to whatever I was doing. And it's super precise. And this is very handy feature for like multiple reasons. For example, you can also use a Quick Shape with an eraser. So let's make like a mess like this. So if you, for example, are trying to do a shape and you later notice that there's something that you would like to be more clean, let's say for example this edge, you want to create more of a softer curve, you can take eraser and you want to go in and, for example, make this edge a bit smoother. I just have the eraser and I do an arc like this, and then I go to Edit Shape and I can make sure that it's exactly the same shape that I want it to be, and you know that it's clean. And then when you're done, by the way, you can in this mode go to the top of the screen and just like adjust between line and different forms of like making this image. For example, if you wanted to adjust it as a triangle, that's possible too. The last thing that will be a pleasant surprise to Procreate 3.0 users is the interface itself. It's amazing how they managed to cram in all these new features without cluttering the small space. One thing that took me a while to learn is that part of the transform options is hidden behind this button on the right. This part called settings. Here you can do everything like flip vertical or horizontal. But also when in this mode, remember that you can use 2 fingers and squeeze out so you can actually see what you're doing if the transform controls get in the way of that. So let's say flip vertical, flip horizontal. There you can see that it's making the changes. Then when you just tap the screen once, you can still make adjustments with the other transform modes, like for example warp. Always with 2 screens you can zoom in. And then you can make small adjustments like this. And then when you're done, you can just press any other tool, like for example the arrow, and then you're out. This isn't really a tip, but a lot of people have been asking me what I use as my stylus for this pen, and I've been using this Wacom bamboo sketch, and it comes with a very small charger that is very easy to lose, but you can charge it with this magnetic part in any part where you can plug in the charger that has USB connection in it. And with one button press, like it automatically connects to the phone, and that lets me paint with it. It's super handy and I carry this with me everywhere. Okay, I hope this has been helpful. For more art tips, remember to hit the subscribe and bell buttons to see more. I'm Mikko and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!